Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it, as the New York Knicks postseason hopes are still alive, as the New York Knicks went on to beat the Miami Heat in Game 5 at Madison Square Garden, the final score being 112-103, and we're one game away from tying up this series, but it's not going to be easy, of course. The next game is going to be in Miami on Friday. And if you take a look at the history, the New York Knicks have never come back from 3-1. Any 3-1 deficit in their playoffs is history of the entire franchise. The New York Knicks are looking to change that and make some history. And the Miami Heat have never blown a 3-1 lead in their franchise's history. And this game was absolutely insane. And I wanted to win this game. I didn't want to go on to lose this series in 5 games. I was like, could we at least win a game at the Garden? I did not want the season to end at the Garden. And the New York Knicks answered that call after the first quarter, because the first quarter was absolutely disgusting. We were down 10 after that first quarter. We only scored 14 points in the first. At the end of the first, we were down 24-14, and it looked like an absolute slugfest. It looked like we were still in Miami. It looked like the team gave up. It looked like Randall just dragged this team down after what he said in the postgame press conference, and it's like, all the players listen to Randall. Like, yeah, maybe they do want it more than us. Let's not even go out there and try. That was literally the vibe from the opening tip when the Miami Heat went on to win the jump ball, and they were able to find Kevin Love in the interior when he absolutely beat Julius Randle to the basket. And obviously, in general, it wasn't good on either side of the basketball. We weren't making shots. There wasn't good rotation of moving the ball around. We were very stagnant as an offense. We had turnovers when it came to just bad passes, but also when it came to fouls, we were not disciplined. Josh Hart went on to pick up 3 fouls in that first quarter, and when it came to the second half, when he checked in the game, credit Tom Thibodeau, though he picked up his 4th foul, and Tibbs is a Josh Hart guy, but he's like, Josh Hart, you do not have it tonight, you're all over the place. But when the Heat were making a run, Josh Hart did have a strong take to the basket, to give credit to Tom Thibodeau with that, or to give credit to Josh Hart right there. But yeah, Josh Hart played under 10 minutes, so credit to Tibbs. He's like, Josh Hart doesn't have it. He's playing on discipline. A lot of stupid fouls away from the ball. But yeah, just in general, that first quarter was disgusting. Even though I do have Josh Hart's back on this one play. In general, though, this dude plays hard as shit. I'm going to have his back either way. The one play was disgusting, or that one call was disgusting, when Jimmy Butler attempted that 3 on the right wing, and he went on to miss the 3-pointer. We know Jimmy Butler's mechanics. He likes to kick out his leg. He has high elevation on his jumper. And if anything, it should have been an offensive foul for initiating the contact with his leg. But I'm not an official at the end of the day. I'm not a coach. But to get a flagrant in that position was really weird. But Jimmy Butler did go on to miss the first free throw when it came to the flagrant being called. So I guess ball don't lie. But we were allowing offensive rebounds. We were getting beat to the ball. We were getting beat to 50-50 balls. And we're lucky they were missing their threes the first half. We actually went on to make more threes than the Miami Heat in the first half. And we actually tied at the end of this game with the same amount of 3-pointers. And the New York Knicks were efficient from beyond the arc, making 38% of their threes. But after that first quarter getting killed on the glass, the New York Knicks went on to demolish the Miami Heat on the glass, as you see on the screen. So credit to the New York Knicks for making adjustments, and I'm glad, or just playing harder, playing with more of an edge, playing with more grit. But yeah, Brunson got a couple buckets. RJ got a bucket, I believe. Grimes knocked down a 3 in that first quarter, but it was just total disaster. It was total disaster. Randall couldn't do anything right. He wasn't there mentally. I'm like, we're not going to win this game if Randall doesn't step up, because I have no belief in our bench with Quickly being out. Josh Hart doesn't produce a lot of offensively. He does the little things, and I don't know when his 3 ball is going to start falling again. Or he's never been this crazy sniper from the outside. Of course, the second half of the season with the New York Knicks, he shot it at an over 50% clip, but we knew he shot it at a 30% clip when he was with the Portland Trail Blazers as well. So there's definitely an up and down consistency. Hartenstein brings those gritty plays, but I'm like, we're going to need the so-called big 3 of Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and Brunson to all have over 20 point nights, and we're gonna have to compete on the defense side of the basketball and make sure Jimmy Butler doesn't have a big time game. And that's what went on to happen. Jimmy Butler only had 19 points, a very uncharacteristic game of Jimmy Butler. He got to the free throw line a few times. There were some calls I didn't like, and then I'm like, that's a foul. I'm like, I never try to blame the officials. Like, even in a win, I'll talk about it, but I never say like we lost because of the officials. You didn't do enough clearly at the end of the day, and you got to be able to overcome that adversity of the officials. But Jimmy Butler, he makes solid reads, but you didn't see that extra level of aggression. Maybe it is his ankle. But RJ also had some very nice defensive possessions when he was defending Jimmy Butler. We're going to be getting into that. But the second quarter, the Knicks flipped a switch, because at the end of that second quarter, we actually had a 3-point lead entering halftime. And it's so crazy to think that we scored over 100 points, only having 14 points in the first quarter. But it looked like the Knicks showed more effort. But what really flipped the switch, and Randall adjusted and played well in that second half. He had 5 assists. He was making decisive reads. He had 24 points in the second half. But when we took Randall out of the game, it seemed like the vibes, the energy, the vibes were immaculate when it came to that second quarter. It just absolutely flipped the switch. We started to play with more pace because we're not this consistent offensive team. Like when it comes to tempo, or we don't have this complex offense that's really unpredictable. We have Brunson that's an isolation scorer. RJ's getting better in the half court. He's figuring out angles because he doesn't have a crazy bag. His focal point is, how am I going to figure out these angles? And he's done a tremendous job with that since struggling in those first 2 games in that Cleveland series. He's been fantastic since then offensively. But in the second quarter, we're running. Brunson throws an alley-oop to Obi Toppin. RJ Barrett transition 3. RJ Barrett knocked down 3 threes tonight. Brunson knocked down a few threes. When Randall knocks down a few threes, when your big 3 is firing on all cylinders from beyond the arc and they're able to score from the interior and mid-range, like all 3 of these players scored from mid-range territory, from the outside and the inside. Even RJ knocked down a mid-range jumper. That was absolutely beautiful. But RJ knocked down his 3s. He was quick, decisive, driving to the basket, got to the free throw line a couple times, obviously hit the free throws when it mattered, but Brunson double-digit scoring in the second quarter just absolutely took over. Push shot, floater, good, which was a very difficult shot. Floater and 1 3-pointer on the left wing. He kicked out his leg a little bit, but I don't think it was a foul, because if they called that a foul earlier, oh well. But Lowry had a very good contest. Brunson was hitting some big-time buckets, and we know his ability to get to the free throw line. And Grimes knocked down a couple threes, and he was gritty as shit in this game. And Obi, we could talk about the outlet dunk, and he played under 20 minutes, but we need Obi to play tough. We need him to play physical, and when he was out there, he was able to snag 6 rebounds, and I thought the defense was much better in that second quarter. So Butler is getting a couple buckets, but what really held them back is Butler only having a 19-point night. They needed a big, massive explosion from him because Kevin Love is 0 for 7 from beyond the arc. His shot was not falling. He did not have a big game. Gabe Vincent did not have a big game. I thought Bam Adebayo actually played well, but then Mitch Robinson started to get back to his old Mitch Robinson self. 10 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds. They tried doing the hack of Mitch at the end of the game, but he executed from the free throw line, so maybe you need more physicality out of Bam during those moments. But when there's not a 20-point per game score, and then there's not a 20-point night from someone or over 20 from a couple guys, it's going to be difficult. Their bench stepped up. Duncan Robinson absolutely killed us. We're going to be getting into that, but there are big 3 all over 20 points. Jalen Brunson erupted in this game. Terrific. He played 48 minutes. 48 minutes, and obviously the most crucial game of these playoffs. And he went on to drop in those 48 minutes, 38 points on 50% shooting, 9 rebounds. We needed to crash the glass. We got 9 rebounds from Brunson, 7 assists, knocked down 3s. When this was cut to a 2-point game, or when the Heat were getting back into it, Duncan Robinson 3, Kyle Lowry pump fake 3, knock it down. We got to be more disciplined outside on the perimeter. So when they're hitting these shots, Jimmy mid-range in the interior, Brunson answers the call kind of earlier when there was 6 minutes left in that fourth quarter, 5 minutes left. Brunson, hand in his face by Jimmy Butler 3, puts it in. This team responds. When the shot clock's winding down, we're up 2. There's 2:10 left. RJ driving, shot clock winding down. We're up 2. Hartenstein, put back dunk. After that, Jimmy Butler, Grimes gets hurt during this play. Grimes is up in Jimmy Butler's jersey, forces a turnover on a play. Grimes got hurt. RJ knocking down big free throws down the stretch. This team is just resilient from us to be down 10, but you also got to give credit to the Heat because in that second half, we absolutely exploded in that third quarter. Randall was more decisive. He was really struggling in that first half. He obviously hit that 3 at the end of the second quarter to give us that 3-point lead entering the third quarter, but Randall started to look more engaged. He's like, you know what? Maybe get knocked in the eye, knock some sense into me. I'm joking. He's a human being at the end of the day. When I criticize a player, I'm criticizing the player. I'm not criticizing the human being. Seems like a great person off the court. Seems like a great dude. But in the third quarter, he's making quicker, decisive decisions. We're making the extra pass within the offense, which I loved. He knocked down a few threes. He knocked down a difficult mid-range jumper. Needed him to knock down his free throws, but for him to give us 24 points after all the nonsense, all the controversy, I'm not going to lie. Randall, terrific talent, but it comes down to his IQ. It's just I'm unsure if I want him long term because of his decision making out there on the floor and his consistent motor. He needs a more consistent motor, and he has to consistently be more locked in mentally, especially when you're playing in New York. But Randall went on to step up. Obviously RJ was terrific again offensively. In that third quarter, it's just one thing after another. We're forcing turnovers or scoring in transition, or we're getting buckets off of these turnovers. We're really capitalizing. We're doing better on the glass compared to last game. We're not playing like a bunch of bitches on the glass. Hartenstein's a beast. He's fighting for 50-50 balls. But Jimmy Butler driving baseline, driving right at RJ, and RJ's like, all right, you may be the teacher here, but I'm about to school my teacher right here. I may be the student, but you're the teacher. I'm swatting that shit in your face. You know, a few possessions down or a few minutes in, Jimmy Butler driving again at the basket in the second half, and RJ tough contest, and he airballed the shot, went over the basket. So RJ played some tough defense, and if we can get the combination of the defense, the three-point shot, or at least like he had a mid-range as well, drive to the basket, it's gonna be awesome for RJ. But Brunson just continued to do his thing. There was times I'm like, maybe rein in the 3-pointers and look to be more decisive, or look to pass the basketball more. So the Knicks were really flourishing. You know, we were up a good amount at the end of the third quarter, but there was times I'm like, all right, the Heat are kind of carving back in. Bam would have a bucket in the darker spot. Jimmy still wasn't scoring at a very high level, but he would get a bucket. Max Strus would hit a three in the corner. Like, they're still getting some things going, and they're still fighting hard. They have these come behind victories versus the Milwaukee Bucks. But what really got the Miami Heat back in the game, they started running zone, and we weren't sure what to do with it. Eventually, the New York Knicks were able to bust out of it, but when it came to that fourth quarter, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler didn't have a crazy amount of points, but he did have some pivotal buckets, and he did draw a foul. He is a fantastic player. I just don't understand sometimes the calls he does get, but obviously Brunson, I can't complain. Now we have a player with Brunson that's a professional player when it comes to drawing fouls. But Duncan Robinson hit 5 threes, and at least 3 of them came in that fourth quarter. And we have to stop falling for these pump fakes. Duncan Robinson's not someone that's going to go to mid-range and knock down a shot consistently, or unless it's wide open. Like, he's a good shooter, but he's not a shot creator. That's what I'm saying. But he hit big threes to get him in this game. Kyle Lowry, pump fake, 3, puts it up. You know, they cut it. Like, Duncan Robinson hit a 3, cut it to 7. We're not able to score. They're playing good defense. On the other end, Kyle Lowry, pump fake on Mitchell Robinson, 4-point game. Jimmy Butler, pull up mid-range jumper, or he has a bucket around the interior, knocks down, he splits free throws, and it's a 2-point game. But the New York Knicks were able to respond. Like I mentioned, Brunson, 3. You know, also when it was a 2-point game, 2:10 left, and shot clock's winding down. I don't know how RJ was able to find that angle at the basket. I believe Kyle Lowry's defending him, or Martin. And Martin didn't have like this pop game that sometimes he has had in this series, so that's big as well. RJ figured out the angle, but I guess he put too much English on it. Hartenstein had that huge putback dunk, and I believe it was the play after a couple plays down, which really hurt momentum for them, because that obviously put them up 4. And then I believe the following play, the Miami Heat have a missed shot on the perimeter, and then Jimmy Butler has this over the back foul, and RJ Barrett's able to execute on 2 free throws. So that's huge. And then I talked about the Grimes, just defense on Jimmy Butler when he was hurt. So it's like, talk about a gritty performance by the New York Knicks. Obi didn't have a crazy amount of points, but he had the rebounds. You know, obviously with no Quickly out, there wasn't the scoring production. So when there's not crazy scoring production coming off of your bench, you need to make those pop plays defensively that lead to offense. And we got those momentum plays. But, man, I'm proud of this team. We could have folded and lost in 5. I'm not saying we're going to end up winning this thing at 7, but it would be awesome to make some history. But Brunson, this dude's unbelievable. Like, even that 3, he had a pull-up mid-range jumper, got a friendly roll. True professional. He knows the job's not finished. He's not going to celebrate and be cocky after this game. Like, if Jimmy Butler went off, this could have been a totally different story if Kevin Love played better. But at the end of the day, every game has a different story. And I'm proud of this team. Let me know down below your thoughts. Let's go Knicks, baby.